The landscapes of our lives are for learning, where experience is our teacher. When we gather together to share our resources, we are destined to love and thrive.
Hey, good morning, Maureen.
Good morning, Pierre. How are you?
I'm great. I am great. It's funny. The other day, it's 2 days ago, I had some people over for lunch. This little five-year-old comes over, and they asked him how he was doing, and he goes, "I'm great." And a little 5-year-old, coming home from school, and at the luncheon table, everybody goes, "Wow, what planet is that kid from?" It's like, I'm great. I'm great.
I love it.
Yeah. But this morning we were talking about doing a reflection, which is a little different than the ones we've done in the past. We've kind of had an interview and then some pods and sort of do a learning on that. And we've got a lot of material that's discussion oriented, topic oriented, resource oriented. And so this reflection is more just taking a pause and kind of sharing some observations about a whole bunch of pods, maybe some specifically, but just generally keeping it short. Did you have any
pods? You mean episodes?
Pods, yeah,
episodes.
Eppies. God, I must be too preppy when I shorten everything into these stupid, cute little phrases.
Just translating for people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're my English teacher.
Well, so the reflection part being like we've talked about, I don't know, every once in a while we stop and say, like, how are we doing? And what are we doing? And what content did we cover? And like, how do we judge ourselves as far as our conversation and how much we're learning about conversation and within the conversations? And so we ended up talking about like having opinions and judgment and repeating kind of the same.
We ended up self-critiquing and trying to recognize that we have to take like out of our vocabulary.
Right? Oh God, yes, that's me. And gosh, you don't realize how much you say things until you listen to them back, which is like such a great thing for us, just two older people talking and recording and trying to learn something about how we communicate. And it's not just the content and it's how we're communicating. And how you really never know how it lands with people. You can only guess about what other people are judging about us, or their evaluation of how we're talking to each other. But we do it ourselves, right? Trying to evaluate it ourselves.
Yeah. One of the things that came through for me is how much I enjoy the nature of conversation, the meandering, the serendipity, and just the bubbliness of going from one subject to the other. And it's a art form, right? I mean, it's not writing and it's not lecturing. It and capturing it in a recording is it's magic.
And it's not going out with friends, and it's not other ways that you converse, on certain occasions, and you're in kind of a certain role. Like this is conversation for the sake of conversation. So I think our roles are a little different. And so we talk and interact a little differently. And then you have the consciousness of an audience, and you can't say you don't. Like, yeah, we're focused on each other and we're talking, but we are aware that this is a podcast and other people are going to be listening to it. So that impacts how we converse.
Yeah. Another reflection I have, since we haven't done reflections in a while, is how much material is building up and how many different names are coming up in the Libsyn feed as learning resource. And then there's, oh gosh, maybe we didn't get around to Gabor Mate, or, but we've gotten around to Andrew Huberman and Rich Roll and Joe Rogan and Elizabeth Stanley, and they're just building up. And there's so many in front of us. I mean, we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, I feel like we've hardly talked about specific resources at all in a way. I mean, we just did the Albert Ellis, the REBT, which
Right.
is one thing, and that was just because it was on my mind. But yeah, I like there's plenty. I was thinking about that too. I was like, God, all the books that I read, we've barely talked about
Right.
any of them. So that's
Right.
good. We have a lot of material to
Yeah.
to
There's a
discuss
lot
in
of
the future.
there's a lot of material, and I know personally, if I can get a book recommendation or a learning recommendation, it's so much easier for me to dive into it than, trying to find it. So I
Mhm.
remember, well, this isn't a reflection, so I'm going to save that for something else. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. And those little learning practices.
About the words. Yeah, it's like that. I think of it as an excuse to have a conversation, but it always leads. It's interesting. What I love about those is that, people interpret words just slightly differently, don't they? And it's interesting to find out like how you think about a word and all the connotations that it's has meaning for you in very specific ways. And then, I interact with that word in different ways. And just we're talking about the same word, but then it kind of like fans
Isn't that
out and
interesting?
grows. And I think it's important to like draw attention to that. And this is why I'm specifying it at the moment, because that's also where so much of the misunderstanding comes from between people is just, we're making assumptions that we're interpreting the definition of words the same exact way. And then we can never really know the other person's personal experience with it, that subjective experience. And that's where it gets tough. And instead of running in opposite directions and saying, okay, that guy doesn't understand, see it my way. It's like, no, let's drill down and talk about, oh, how are you thinking about that? And I
Right.
want to know more and I want to understand more about how you are seeing it and how
I
you're
know.
understanding it so I can understand you. And it's like, that's the value of conversation and hanging in there and trying to like tease things out, right?
Yeah. The learning conversations, the learning practices rather, around the short word exchange, it's it it's been a wonderful practice for me because it's a microcosm that'll, just like you were saying, allows me to see the power of conversation. We go all over the place as it relates to one word in 3 minutes. We don't have the same understanding. We have to listen. If you talk too long, you've stepped on the other person's toes because it's only 3 minutes long. And quite frankly, I think it's helped our communication skills.
Yeah.
It's been great fun as well. I mean,
Yeah, it's turned out to be interesting. And we didn't really plan for that at all. That was kind of just came out of doing this. And it's to think of what else might come out of this, like
yeah,
that. And then these reflections are important. And I just think today in this world where, conversations are being squashed or prevented from happening
yes,
or
yes,
super edited and
yes,
narrowly, given
yes,
given
all
and
that.
controlled, that like it's so important for us to like actually just talk about this, and how important speech and talking and interacting and trying to understand other people are. You were
Yeah,
talking about the Sam Harris, the social identity little piece in that Waking Up app. Does that
right.
relate to this? Does that relate to what we're talking about? The social identity piece, as
It
far as
I
conversation
mean,
goes and understanding each other, or
I think we touched on it in one of the pods where we were talking about breaking bread together and how it creates social fabric to sit around a table and eat together. And I think true conversation, and I'm not sure what false conversation is, but also creates social fabric and and I reflect on the lovely conversations that went on in my family at the dinner table and after dinner, an extended deeper dive. Whereas, I don't want to call it false, but the cocktail party thing where you
Small
just
talk.
meet and greet. What'd you say?
Small talk.
Oh, small talk. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're my English teacher for sure. Yeah. Small talk. Right. I mean, that's good too. I think it's the little baby steps that introduce you to another person, but real conversation is it's a powerful thing.
Yeah, I think it's everything. I really do.
I'm learning, and there's our podcast in a nutshell. Yeah, learning
Yeah.
conversation. Well, I think this is a good reflection, and yeah,
We'll be back next time.
we'll be back next time, and yeah, maybe we'll come back to the format of reflecting on an interview, which we look forward to sharing with you. And yeah, so this is Pierre from Yoga Heals.
And this is Maureen from Landscapes for Learning. Live to learn to live.
Peace through grace, Maureen. Peace through grace.